All right, hello, Patreon listeners, watchers. Welcome to my bookshelf. A listener requested that I give a tour of my bookshelf. So I watched a couple examples of that on YouTube. Folks who had very, I would say, like Instagram perfect bookshelves and nice white rooms, neatly organized. And I made my bookshelf less of a train wreck in the last few days, but I present to you my non-Instagram perfect bookshelf. A few notes. As I was preparing for this, I wondered what people think my bookcase must look like, and so I want to preface this by saying I have I think a pretty small library. And this is partly due to the fact that since 2007, this is the fifth country I've lived in, and I don't know how many apartments. So every time I've moved to a different country, there's a benevolent purge that happens to the book collection, and there are many books that I've either given to other people or they've passed on in some way or another. I think I was telling you, Dermot, about my North Korean book collection.
Yes.
All of which I gave to people in Korea before I left because I thought someone else should read these books.
Mm-hmm.
Or my biographies of Soviet leaders collection. I gave it all away because, first of all, a lot of those books are like this. They don't fit well in a suitcase. And so it goes. And I think really books are meant to be read. And if I have a book that I don't feel like I'm going to read again, I like to give it away because A, I move a lot, and B, they're just going to be here gathering mold on my shelf. So what you see before you are a combination of books that are either incredibly sentimentally valuable, or incredibly functional and useful. And there's really not much in between those two spaces because that's just the process of whittling down. Either that, or they are things that belong to Dermot that have ended up on these shelves for one reason or another. So I guess I'll just go top to bottom and talk about some of my favorite books from each shelf. And Dermot will edit in whatever bits of that are interesting. So on the top shelf here, it would appear that all of my books are randomly put up here. They're not. I have books. This is my Irish interest section, and then my nature section, my science section, and a poetry section. So, what do I have here? I would say books that are interesting here. These two are two books on Hiberno English. I'll show these. Now, these are of interest because, first of all, I've used them both while working on Blooms and Barnacles. Second of all, they were both given to me as romantic gestures by one Dermot M. O'Connor. So I would say, you can see my annotations in these that say Ulysses. Mm-hmm. Those are the Ulysses sections. I would say, if you want to win a lady's heart, this is what women want, gentlemen. This is books about Hiberno English. So these are really special. Next up, I have books by an Irish writer named Monaghan McGann, who we got to see in Sligo last month, and he signed both of these books. Now, I don't know that that's legible or in English. This is the one to Dermot. I'll do the other one too, because that one's for Kelly, and that's me. Let's see here. Yeah. So he's definitely, I feel like, someone I'd really like to talk to on the podcast. He's not a Ulysses person at all, but he's an interesting person. Yes. So he might be too big for Blooms and Barnacles. What else do I have here? I have The Hobbit in Irish.
Better than Peg.
I also have Harry Potter in Irish, but that one is all scuffed up because I've actually read this one. This is a book. When I ordered it in the mail, I showed it to my mom, and she's like, "Oh, that's interesting," and she went like this. She went because it was too scary for her. Let's see here. This book is very special, Dermot. You know this book.
Yes.
You want to talk about?
Yeah, Bernard Nearly. We did a video with Bernard walking around Dublin 7.
He is a relative of Martin Mooney, who's been on the podcast, and he saw the videos we made with Martin about Glasnevin Cemetery, and we ended up walking around Dublin 7 with him, learning all about the history of that for a full day back in May, and it was really fun, and, again, you can see all my notes in this one. So, also published by Dublin Independent Lilliput Press. So they're a great place to...
And I think we have the interview with that up on YouTube.
Anthony from Lilliput Press. So it's at the end of one of our episodes, and the video is on YouTube. I need to get Sheba off. I am very interested, outside of Ulysses, in wild foraging and herbal teas. So I have some books on herbs and teas and birds, insects. Those don't go in the tea, as it turns out. I have multiple books about Richard Feynman, who I've always found very interesting, just as a person. And then I have Henry David Thoreau, who I liked very much when I was younger. This shelf has 2 copies of The Little Prince, one in French and also one in Irish. At some point I had the idea to buy one in every country that I lived in, and I bought the Irish one in Dublin at the Shop of Lower on Harcourt Street, and the French one, you know where I bought this?
Oh, Shakespeare and Company?
No. In Kyobo Books in Busan, Korea.
Obviously.
So I don't have a Korean one or a Japanese one, so the plan failed. I don't have an English one either. So, and of course the greatest poetry book of all time, Where the Sidewalk Ends. A book. Again, I have my notes in there. I used to use this. This is a fun book with, was an English teacher for a long time, second language English. And these are really good for like intermediate to higher level students because they're funny and it's fun to watch students enjoy them. So Shel Silverstein, I've enjoyed since the early 90s when I was a literal child. So, all right. And I pulled 2, the book of whale insults. One of the fun parts about moving a lot is I store a lot of stuff in my mom's attic. Most of it's out of there now, and every time I've gone through it, I find something that I don't remember where it came from, and this is one such thing. I have no idea where this came from, but it's really quite informative. I was looking through it. You can learn how the whales insult differently by depth. So at 10 fathoms, they have kind of a more intellectual insult, and at 1,500 fathoms, the whale just says prick. See, some of them are actually quite mean. Here, you want to read the whale insult?
Are you sure you're not just a really big shrimp?
Yeah, and that's a beluga whale to a beluga whale. Right? And then you can see the types of insults that they use in different parts of the world. Anyway, I've spent more time on this than, the other books. All right, next shelf down is all of my Joyce books. Now, I've been told in no uncertain terms that my Joyce collection is not impressive. So prepare to be underwhelmed, listeners. I don't know what to say about it. It's, I've got a bunch of books by James Joyce right here, right? And then bunch of books that other people wrote about James Joyce, which are the bulk of it. So generally for me to buy a book, because a lot of stuff you can find as PDFs, or you can find on like archive.org when it comes to older books. I preferred, online versions of books because they are text searchable. And so here's a secret too. I don't know if this is, revealing too much. Like, say, I'm quite fond of the Richard Ellman James Joyce. If I want to find information on a particular topic, I can go to the index, but this is very limited. You can go on archive.org and find a scanned version of this, which is text searchable. And so if I want to know, did he write anything about whales, you can just type the word whale in and find all the sections. So